cloud service provider, we have different types of cloud service providers are there. You have AWS, or you have Microsoft Azure. I think the screen is not moving in your case, so I am sharing your screen again. Yeah, now it is coming. So Azure, AWS, what are the others? Google Cloud Platform, right? So Google Cloud Platform, what else? Oracle Cloud, Salesforce. Even that day, Harshit has shown me that Force.com is also producing the cloud services. So that answer that I have given, that is the wrong answer. So everybody will get the marks. 1 marks everybody will get. Okay. So these are the several different kinds of cloud platforms are there. Now, to make a compatibility from one cloud platform to another cloud platform means that if I want to migrate my cloud services from one cloud service provider to another service provider, that case there should not be any compatibility issue. What do you mean by the compatibility issues? Suppose I have my entire instances or the server in AWS. Now AWS has increased their pricing. Now it is not possible for me to keep my server in AWS. I need to shift from AWS to suppose Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud. Now, at the time of shifting, that Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure is saying that whatever servers you have created in AWS, I cannot recognize that one. That is what you do. You cannot migrate it properly. Yes or no? This kind of problem may happen. Do you agree with me or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah. So to make a compatibility between each of the different cloud service provider, so there should be one reference architecture that all the cloud service provider must maintain. Means if I want to create my own cloud services, that case I need to maintain the standards specified by CCRA, Cloud Computing Reference Architecture. So there few standards have been maintained or mentioned. So you have to cope up with those standards. You cannot deny those standards. It is quite like your ISO OSI reference model, network reference model. So basically, sometimes this type of tricky questions are being asked in your exam. That give me an example where ISO OSI reference model has been implemented. Can you tell me, though this is not a question of cloud computing, it's a question of networking. Now, can you tell me what should be your answer? Because this year onwards, you will sit for the interview of different companies. So, if they ask you this question, give me an example of where ISO SI reference models are being used. And second question may be asked that whatever an internet we are doing through your machine or laptop or mobile, so what network architecture you are using? ISO OSI or TCP/IP or what else? So what should be the answer? Can anyone give me the answer? Akramul?
Yes, sir.
विवेक बोल सकते हो क्या आंसर होगा इसका?
Sir, I think TCP/IP.
TCP/IP, हाँ, यहाँ का नेटवर्क आर्किटेक्चर में हम लोग TCP/IP यूज करते हैं. तो ISO OSI कहाँ पे यूज करते हैं हम लोग?
सर ये पता नहीं.
Because ISO OSI is not used anywhere because it's a reference architecture, standard architecture. TCP/IP or IBM SNA or ATM network model. There are different network model that yesterday I have mentioned. So everybody has to maintain or everybody has to adopt the reference architecture of OSI reference model. Okay, it's a standard. हम लोग को वो standard maintain करना है. ये क्वेश्चन ऐसा हो गया, तुम EICT में पढ़ते हो क्या? EICT is what? EICT is a standard body, All India Council of Technical Education. All the engineering colleges and the university have to maintain the standard adopted by EICT or UGC, right? कोई तो UGC या EICT में पढ़ता नहीं है, कहाँ पे पढ़ता है? EICT approved institution में पढ़ते हैं, है कि नहीं? So same time that ISO OSI, there nobody can adopt ISO OSI, but everybody has to adopt the ISO OSI reference architecture. So I have to adopt a network architecture which has been adopted, which has adopted the ISO OSI reference model. Similarly, AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud, Salesforce, Force.com, everybody has to adopt the reference architecture provided by your that CCRA. Okay, now let us see the what are the parameters or the components should be there in the CCRA architecture. So please be ready with your pen and paper. So I am going to draw the entire CCRA architecture. Okay. So in one portion there will be cloud consumer. Who are cloud consumer? Like you and me are the people who are the cloud consumer. Next option is the cloud auditor. Please draw this one. Don't take a screenshot. आप लोग याद नहीं रख पाओगे इसको. And there are different types of auditors are there. One is security auditor. And इसका notes भी मेरे पास नहीं है, so you have to prepare the notes by yourself. So that is why it is being suggested that please draw this one. And performance auditor. So these are the different portion of your cloud auditor. So one part is cloud consumer, another part is cloud auditor. Okay. Next is your cloud orchestrator. So I am deviating my screen. So if you need to keep the previous screen so that you can take you for your notes taking purpose. So you please let me know. I will stop that one. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Next part is cloud orchestrator. So who are orchestrator? This is the main component who will approve your applications. That means whether you want the SaaS services, whether you want the PaaS services, what type of services you want, and they will approve. So in the cloud orchestrator also there are three parts. So one is the service layer part. In the service layer is the SaaS service layer is there, PaaS service layer is there, and then IaaS service layer is there. So these are the part of your service layer. Okay. Next is the restore and abstraction layer. Next is physical resource layer. So this service layer, restoration, abstraction and control layer, and physical resource layer, these three constitutes your cloud orchestrator. Next part is your cloud service management. Here there are three components. One is business support, provisioning and configuration, portability and interoperability. Is it legible, students? मेरा जो लिख रहा हूँ वो आप लोगों को समझ में आ रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now, in the cloud service provider side, there are two other aspects are there. One is security, another is privacy. One part is security, another part is privacy. And at the bottom, there is cloud carrier. So please draw this one, and after that, one by one, I am going to discuss. Okay. And whenever your drawing is complete, please let me know.
Done, sir.
Done, huh? Okay, fine. So let us start with the cloud consumer. Cloud consumer is the party who will consume the cloud services like us or the different companies who use it. So there are two types of consumers are there. One is the business consumer or enterprise consumer, and another is the naive consumer. Naive consumers are us that we are not sure that whether my purpose will be solved by cloud or not. So in that case, what we do? We basically do different types of testing through cloud and to check that testing of the different cloud services and to check that whether these services are performing in a correct manner or not. And after that, whether we'll also check that whether through these performances their business enter whether my business workflows are getting improved or not. Okay. Now next is the cloud auditor. Now, cloud auditor will audit the cloud performances in on the various aspects. So it will check the security audit, it will check the privacy audit, it will check the performance audit. Now, this one will be checked from the user's perspective as well as from the service provider perspective. Means that it will first check that from the user side whether the security of the user side is okay or not, because the most of the cases what happens that the security breaches has happened. Suppose your account has been hacked. That case, what will you do? You will immediately blame to the cloud service provider. Now you will blame that the cloud service provider side the security is not good enough. That is why my security has been breached. But the cloud service provider, on the contrary, will tell that okay, the security there is no security issue from my side. As your security or the your firewall is not strong enough, that is why the security has been breached. So please check your firewall. Don't blame me. That case, in this way, the fingering on each other will go on. Now, here the cloud auditor, security auditor, main role is that they will check that first that what type of services you are taking, whether you are taking IaaS service or PaaS services or SaaS services. Now, I have told you earlier that for the different types of services, the security responsibility also gets changed. Even for that, I have given one question also. If any security breaches happens, that case, who will be responsible for IaaS services? Now, can you tell me, for the IaaS services, who should be held responsible for the security breaches? Any idea? User or the service provider?
The service provider, I think so.
So
Huh?
service provider, I guess.
No. Actually, in case of IS, what is being done? The service provider is giving you the services. They are giving you the hardware. Okay. They are giving you hardware. They are giving you the required processor. They are giving you the network and everything. Now, in that hardware, processor, and network, on top of it, you are installing your PaaS applications or the software applications or the software services. Okay, now when you are creating the software services, so this is under your vicinity only, right? So if you don't make your PaaS environment or the SaaS environment strong enough, that case what the service provider would do? The service provider, what they can do that they can secure their data center so that whatever IaaS services you are taking, this should not be breached. And if it becomes breached, that case the hardware it will be compromised with the security compromised will responsibility will become upon the hardware, processor, and the network only. But whatever software you are installing, that is not the responsibility of the service provider, right? So it depends that if you are taking IaaS service, that case most of the responsibility comes on the user only, because you are installing everything. Responsibility on user, and less responsibility like the hardware types of responsibility, and least responsibility on on service provider. Now, if you are taking a PaaS services, that case, who should be held responsible? The IS is clear to you, student, or shall I need to explain it again?
Sir, can you explain one more, sir?
The thing is that the service provider is providing you the hardware to create your server. Now, on top of the server, whatever you are installing, that responsibility is on entirely on the user only. The service provider is not going to take the responsibility. मैं अगर कोई वायरस इंस्टॉल करके बैठा रहूंगा तो कौन रिस्पॉन्सिबल रहेगा इसके लिए वो बताओ मेरा बात समझ में आया आप लोगों को
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in the case of iOS, so I am creating the hardware and on top of it, the different types of services are being created. Okay, so the responsibility will come onto mostly on the users. But in case of PaaS, what will happen? In case of PaaS, that the entire IaaS infrastructure will be created by the service provider. On top of the infrastructure, the software development platform also will be created by the service provider. Now you tell me, who should be held responsible? On top of the service provider, sorry, on top of the software development environment, I am creating the software. Okay. Now you tell me, who should be held responsible in case of the security breaches? According to you, it's an open discussion. It is not like that you will be knowing, but you should at least try to discuss regarding this.
For PaaS, service provider is responsible.
Provider is to be responsible. Any other answer which is different his answer? Or everybody is agreed with that particular answer?
Sir, user are creating the platform, means the uploading the software, right, in the platform.
User is?
Sir, user is creating the environment, so they may enter some unnecessary software which can bleach platform.
Exactly. What is your name? Abdul.
Sir, Abdul, yes, sir.
Yeah, Abdul has highlighted on a very pertinent point that okay, the hardware is the responsibility of the service provider. On top of this, service provider is creating the software development environment. If there is any problem with the software development environment, that case, service provider should be held responsible. But on top of that, if user creates some malicious software or the virus, that case, who should be held responsible? The user. So it is not like that user should be completely held responsible. So it's a 50-50 responsibility, shared responsibility between the service provider and the user also. So in this case, it should be equal responsibility. Equal responsibility, but that will be decided only by the auditor, privacy auditor, security auditor, that who should be exactly held responsible for how much, what extent. So So this is also, I cannot make a borderline between these two, that this they should be held responsible for this much or they should be held responsible for that much. Okay. So this is also one of the cases where they should be equally responsible, because the user, अगर user ने किसी गलत सॉफ्टवेयर बनाना शुरू कर दिया और उसका responsibility कौन लेगा? User को ही लेना पड़ेगा. So they will check the entire case study, that क्या हुआ, कैसे हुआ, and after that they are coming to the decision that okay, for that 20% responsibility will be on to the user and 80% responsibility will be on to the service provider, and based on this they will create a penalty structure, that you have to give this penalty by this time, because they are the reference body. Anybody can make a complaint to the auditor that whatever services they have promised me, they are not providing me that services. So you can obviously make a complaint against them. Sorry student, मेरा एक phone आ गया था. Anyway, so is it clear to you regarding the past service responsibility, security responsibility?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this type of question
Yes,
generally comes in the cloud service practitioner's exam. Okay. Now for the SaaS service. For the SaaS services, the entire software will be provided by the service provider only, and some that you can take the SaaS services on top of the PaaS services, on top of the IaaS services in a single at entirety. Means you are taking the IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS from the same service provider. Okay, and sometimes what happens that in my machine I have installed the SaaS softwares. Okay, now in that SaaS software, if any security breaches happen, then who should be held responsible?
Service provider.
Exactly, the service provider. क्योंकि वो सॉफ्टवेयर के ऊपर मेरा तो कोई कंट्रोल ही नहीं है. They are giving us the softwares, but there are few responsibilities are also there on top of the user. Can you tell me what? Because at the time of installing the software asks me to access your all the contents, right? So if you don't give the access, if you give the restricted access, that case there is no chances of security breach. And if you give the entire access to the software, that case somebody else may hack into the software. Okay, so that you need to check that what is your security configuration you make in your system. Okay, so major responsibility on the service provider. Major responsibility of the service. Am I able to clarify this thing, student?
yes, sir.
Okay, any question regarding this? The security responsibility on SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. If there is no question, so let us move to the next one. Hello?
So which is the more vulnerable platform is provide services means us, pass or SaaS?
If you tell again the vulnerability, the SaaS will be the most vulnerable. So that case, you need to check that whatever whenever you are taking one SaaS services, आप लोग भी देखते हो ना, जो अपना एंड्रॉइड में जो इंस्टॉल करते रहते हो, ऑल आर क्लाउड सर्विसेज, जितना सारा एप्स है राइट नाउ, ऑल एप्स आर द क्लाउड सर्विस एप्स, SaaS सर्विसेज ओनली। आप जब इंस्टॉल करते हो तो फ्री में इंस्टॉल करने देता है, आफ्टर दैट इन एप परचेज स्टार्ट हो जाता है। मींस दैट इफ यू टेक दैट सर्विसेज, दैट केस यू हैव टू पे पर मंथ बेसिस। होता है कि नहीं ऐसा?
Yes, sir.
In case, most of the services are like that only. Okay, so it's a subscription-based services that you are getting, but the entire software will not be installed in your mobile. Only the interface will be installed into your mobile, and whenever you ask for any application, then immediately it will go to their server, and the server will do the service operations, and they will return back the result to you. Now, in case of this kind of services, if any security breaches happen, because nothing is in my system only, everything is in the SaaS service provider system. So most obviously, the service provider should be held responsible. तुम्हारा अगर कोई भी एप्स इंस्टॉल करने से अगर वायरस घुस जाता है तो कौन रिस्पॉन्सिबल होगा? दैट एप्स विल बी ऑन डीबी। तो मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस हम लोग ये एप्स को डिलीट कर देते हैं। इसलिए तो तुम्हारा जितना सारा चाइनीज एप्स है तो अभी गवर्नमेंट ने रेस्ट्रिक्ट कर दिया, बिकॉज दे आर टेकिंग योर इंफॉर्मेशन ओनली। So this is a security breach. This is not your fault. Is this the answer of your question? मैं समझा पाया तुमको?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the next one is the privacy auditor. Privacy auditor, it will check that regarding the authenticity and authorization, whether it is working fine or not. Means that if I take that services in a collaborative manner, that means all the collaborators should not be given the same authorization level. Somebody should be given the read access permission, somebody should be given the read write access permission. So who should be given what extent of access permission? So who will check that one? You got my point.
So can you repeat the question?
But repeat the question. Yeah, I'm telling you again. Suppose one IoT application you have taken, one IoT application from the cloud services you have taken. Okay. At the same time, you have taken some machine learning application also. Machine learning applications like suppose image processing or the image recognition application. Now you have a team of 8 members. Now, out of these 8 members, 4 members are working in the IoT application and 4 members are working in the machine learning application. Now, you have taken the entire services from the AWS only. Okay. Now, you have been given one ID password. Now, if you want to let your members to work in that IoT applications and machine learning application, you have to give the ID and password to them. Now, if you give the ID password to them, then those who are working in the IoT application, they can also access the machine learning application also. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And they can sabotage the machine learning application. उसमें से कुछ application delete भी कर सकता है. So that is why AWS has created that IAM policy. What is IAM policy? Integrated Access Management. Sorry. Integrated Access Management. Means that instead of giving them the ID and password, they will give the IAM number. तुम देखना जब AWS कंसोल के थ्रू तुम कुछ एप्लीकेशन को एक्सेस करने जाओगे तो इमीडिएटली इट विल आस्क यू that please give your IAM ID, or do you want to log in through root user or do you want to log in using IAM user? That who is the admin, they will log in using the root user and the IAM user, and if you are not an admin, that case you will be provided the IAM number, and through the IAM number only you can enter into it. And if you enter into the same services created by your company, but you can only be authorized to access IoT services, you will be restricted to access the machine learning application. Because whenever I have entered as a root user, I will create the different IAM policy for different users. Some of the users I will give the access to IoT application, some of the users I will give the access to the machine learning application. Now, when they will log in through their IAM application, they can only access the IoT applications or the machine learning application. Means that the authorization restriction will be clear to them. And if these are being done properly or not, this will be checked by the privacy auditor. Suppose I have given you the access permission to IoT applications only, but still you are accessing, you are able to access the machine learning application. That case, it will be a complete security breach and privacy breach also. So that will be taken care of by the IAM user. You got my point?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear? Okay. So the next part is the performance auditor. So performance auditor will check that whatever performance you have claimed during your service level agreement, because at the time of taking the service, you have to sign one service level agreement. So in that service level agreement, you have to mention that what type of services I am asking for, whether I am getting the same type of services or not. And they will check the entire 3 months, because the audit is happened in each quarter. मतलब फ्रॉम जनवरी टू मार्च एक ऑडिट हो जाता है, मार्च टू जून एक ऑडिट होता है, मार्च अप्रैल मई सॉरी अप्रैल मई जून, अप्रैल टू जून एक ऑडिट हो जाता है, जुलाई टू अक्टूबर सितंबर एक ऑडिट हो जाता है, एंड देन अक्टूबर टू दिसंबर एक ऑडिट होता है. So after each quarter, when the audit takes place, so they check that whether and they check the 3 months performance log report through the cloud watch monitor, that whether the how many times the server gets down, how what is the uptime, and what is the performance time, what is the utilization, and when the utilization increases beyond 70%, whether the auto scaling has been done properly or not. So they will check all kinds of performance monitoring, and after that they will give the result that okay, so whatever you have claimed, that you got the same kind of performance monitoring from the system. If it is not there, they will give the audit report like that. You got my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the cloud auditor, the security auditor, privacy auditor, and performance auditor all are clear to you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the next day we'll discuss about the other actors. Actually, these are called the actors. Cloud consumers, cloud auditor, and another also there. I forgot to write it down. So please write it over here. There's the cloud broker. So please write the cloud broker also over here. So cloud broker, just below the cloud auditor. So there should be one cloud broker. So I will discuss about the cloud broker and the other actors also, and what are the relationship between them. Okay. So if there is any question, you can ask me right now.